Right, I think it's 7 o'clock, so good evening to members and guests online. In particular, you will note that Sally Kipping is online tonight. That's because, unfortunately, she has a cold, and we thought that this time of year it probably wasn't such a good idea if she ran the risk of spreading it around. So she would be taking a major part in the meeting, but from the safety of her own home, as it were. Okay, minutes of the previous meeting, and this is the meeting which took place on the 31st of October, short meeting that members may recall. You've seen the minutes over the course of the last few days. Are you happy for me to sign them? Thank you. Thanks. Item 3, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any burning issues? Hello? Oh. Who was that?
I don't know if that was but I don't know if it's, just proceed.
Okay. Right, so, yes, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? I'll take that as a no. Right, thank you. And apologies for absence, I would guess, is the... we should have taken that first. We're taking it third or whatever. So, any apologies? Leader.
Thank you, Chair. We think there was some confusion with Councillor Perrott, who about tonight's meeting, so I think we'd better offer her apologies. Bit of confusion in the messages between the group and her, so apologies on her behalf.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we move on to item 4, which is the People Strategy update, and I'm going to ask Sally just to introduce that. Sally, please.
Thank you so much, Chair, and apologies, councillors, for not being in the room tonight, but I think you can hear from your voice I was probably better off at home. So the People Strategy, you'll recall, was agreed by the Employment Committee about this time last year, and it was our strategy that looked at Surrey Heath Borough Council and identified 3 main priorities, one of which was council performance, the other workforce resilience, and also attraction of new staff into the council. The work on the strategy started in January this year, so 2024, and has progressed throughout the year. And a large number of the projects we set out to achieve have been achieved. And I think we've seen the results in that we have been able to fill posts first time, we've been able to attract staff into the council, and we've also seen a consistent drop in year-on-year sickness in our absence. So those things have worked well. But the priorities of the council, as you know, have changed. Our economic resilience and sustainability is far more important to us. It always was important to us, but financial sustainability is now, probably the most the biggest risk that we face, and the biggest goal that we have to achieve is to become more sustainable financially. And so it seems a good point to refresh the strategy to see if we've got those priorities exactly right. And Lisa Dixon, our new HR manager, has done all the work. I'm not going to take any credit at all for this. She's done an awful lot of work reviewing the strategy and identifying the priorities going forward into 2025. So Lisa, if it's acceptable to you, I will now hand over to you and you can perhaps give a little bit more of the detail about where we are going next.
Okay, thank you, Sally. So as Sally just mentioned, the context has changed. So the focus on the people strategy is very much on the financial resilience of the council. The people risk has also changed, so our focus will be on retention, morale and mental health. So when we started drafting the plan for next year, we went back to the people strategy and thought about where are we now, where do we want to be, and what actions do we need to take to get there. And the action plan will set out those actions. So the priorities will be on resilience and well-being, and just to give some flavour and some examples of the things that we'll be working on, we'll be working closely with our mental health first aiders. We have another staff survey planned for next year, and we'll prepare ourselves for change, and that's within HR ourselves, but also supporting our managers. Attraction and retention, we want to rename this section to specifically include retention. We recognise that the best ideas often come from within, and we want to actively encourage those. Continue to develop our one-team culture, and also to develop our managers as change agents. And then in the last section, performance. So lots of our projects will fall within this work stream. And our focus will be to very much deliver on our transformation programme. And then finally, it's our intention to set up a new board. The name is to be confirmed, but the intention is that that board will meet quarterly and review progress, review risks, discuss and resolve issues, and make decisions regarding future actions. So that's me. Any questions?
Fine. Members, questions, please. No? Good. I think it's a very important part of what the council faces going into the future. Everybody knows this is not the most easy of times for local government, and for Surrey Heath in particular. And I think it's a tribute to the staff and the work that they do that the first part of this report is as positive as it is. It would be very easy for morale to nosedive, but it hasn't. And I think the change of emphasis to retention is an obvious requirement. So, as I say, I think it's a tribute to the staff in general. Okay, we have a recommendation at page 7, which is to note the 24-25 people strategy and to adopt the 25-26 people strategy. Are we happy with that? Thank you. Right. Okay. We'll move on then to item 5, which is dignity and respect at work policy. And again, I'm going to ask Sally just to introduce that initially, please.
Thank you so much, Chair. So the dignity and respect at work policy is an existing policy. Members will recall that we've actually we're in the process of changing our governance at the moment. So policies like this won't come to Employment Committee any longer, but this is the sort of last of them before we go to that new process following full council next week. This was a change brought about by a change in the law. So members will be aware that a new law has been added to the Equality Act regarding sexual harassment in the workplace, which was what prompted our change. But as we always do when we review a policy, we tweaked other parts of it to bring it up to date and just modernise it a bit and make it more relevant to the context we're currently working in. Again, I won't take any credit for this. This is Lisa's team's work, and they've had a thorough look at it. It has been to Joint Staff Consultative Group first, but we wanted to take you through the main changes. So once again, I'm just going to pass to Lisa and ask her just to run through the key changes for you so that you're familiar with them.
Okay, thank you, Sally. So as Sally just mentioned, this isn't a new policy. So the main changes that we have made, firstly, is around managers and managers' responsibilities. So usually managers are the first to hear about incidents. So we've added more detail to the relevant sections there. To reflect the world that we live in, we've added a section on cyberbullying and also made reference and linked to our social networking policy. We have also reflected the change in legislation, so added a section specifically around sexual harassment and our duty to take reasonable steps to prevent sexual harassment of our staff, and added reference to the risk assessment that we're carrying out to identify potential scenarios where sexual harassment may occur and reasonable steps we can take to prevent it. We have added a section on wellbeing and support, and finally added in the importance of early resolution with regards to events that may fall under this policy. Ahead of this meeting, we have received some recommendations from the Chair, so thank you for those. Predominantly they are grammatical amends, but the most significant recommendation is that we amend the wording throughout the policy to replace the alleged bully or harasser with the person complained of. So unless anyone has any objections, we propose that we accept this change.
Fine, thank you. So, members, any comments, questions? Oh, my word. We'll go with Councillor Thorne, then Councillor MacDonald, and then Councillor Rowlands. Councillor Thorne.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a quick one on 4.4 malicious allegations. Understand, obviously, that could kind of be anything, and also it can include ill-founded allegations which were nonetheless made in good faith. But it does say malicious allegations may give grounds for disciplinary proceedings against the complainant. Should that not be will give grounds for disciplinary, unless obviously it's made in good faith. So obviously if it's malicious, then it's obviously the intent is there, in my view.
You want to comment on that?
I know Sally's got a hand.
Oh, sorry, Sally. Sorry, Sally.
Yes, I'm very happy to answer that. So, Councillor Thorne, it's an excellent question. And one we thought quite carefully about, because I absolutely agree that the word malicious seems to lead into a conduct allegation of some sort. But we have to bear in mind that we can't make a policy to deal with 100% of cases. There may be circumstances, there could be circumstances where a person made an allegation, but for a reason it didn't progress to a conduct case. And it could be, for example, that there were reasons around that didn't directly relate to conduct. I accept that it would be most likely would lead to conduct, but we can't say for certain in 100% of cases it definitely would. And it's quite difficult to preempt one policy with the wording of another. So what we can do is suggest that one policy might lead on to another, in this case the disciplinary policy, but we would never make that an automatic must go from one policy to another, if that makes sense, just to give us that little bit of flex in case for whatever reason we didn't want to go down the conduct route.
Are you content with that? Fine, thank you. Councillor MacDonald, Leader of the Council.
Thank you, Chair. Am I pressing the right one? I'm coming up as Josh Thorne. I apologise. There we go. Thank you, Chair. I had a couple, if it's okay, and it probably makes sense of it because they're kind of linked, Chair, if we just sort of tick them off, if you don't mind. First question really is to clarify whether this policy is applying to members or just staff. Start with that one.
Sally?
So my understanding is that it is staff only. Members are supported under the officer member protocol rather than under this policy, is my understanding.
Super, thank you. So in that context, I think there's a couple of edits required. So first of all, under section 2, context and scope, it mentions the member code of conduct I think the officers should just consider whether they mean the members' code of conduct or they mean the member officer protocol or both. But you don't have to decide that now. I think it's just worthy of consideration because I think you probably meant the protocol.
Yes.
But just take that away. Feedback's a gift. And then the other one was then further down, which is partially why it then triggered my eye, was it then does mention member, and that's where I thought it probably had gone off-piste. So under 4.2 cyberbullying, it then specifically says members and staff. It might have meant to mean managers and staff, I don't know, or just staff. But it talks about members and staff should not make offensive comments. I'm not saying people should make offensive comments, by the way, on social media, but I don't think you meant members there.
Yeah, we can take that feedback away and have a look at it. I agree that the members should be dealt with under the officer member protocol, and not necessarily under this policy. Of course, what that feedback does raise, Councillor MacDonald, and it's an excellent point, is should we revise the officer member protocol to reflect the changes in the law? And I suspect we probably should, and that is something we can take away.
I would probably agree with you on that, but that's your call, not mine. So yeah, perfect. Thank you. I think I might have one other, but it's probably more efficient if I come back after Councillor Rowlands. Thank you, because I can't find it quick enough. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Rowlands, please.
Oh, sorry. Discuss with the trade union representative. There's no mention here that this document has been discussed with the trade union members.
I think I know the answer to that, but I'll let Sally comment. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Rowlands. It has been through the full joint staff consultative group process, so it has been fully consulted with our staff representatives, including our Unison representative.
Okay. Leader, do you want to come back now?
No, I'm not going to find it fast enough, Chair. It was one word where it was a should to a must, and maybe I could come back separately if I could find it.
Yeah, fine. If you could always email that in.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation to adopt the revised dignity and respect at work policy and procedure. Are we happy to so do? Yeah, that's agreed. Thank you. Okay, now at this point we jump to the supplementary item which came out a few days after the main agenda, and this is to look at the workforce profile, which is an extremely interesting document. Not that the others weren't, but this one is particularly interesting, I think, to members in particular, I believe. Sally, do you want to kick this off, please?
Yes, of course. I'm really delighted to introduce the committee to Holly Henson-Young, who is the officer responsible for this particular piece of work. Holly is one of our rising stars, so we're very proud to support her growth, and she very kindly agreed to write this document for us. It's a statutory document, so we are required to publish this under our public sector equality duty under the Equality Act, and it is part of our Achieving Equity strategy that we do so. So where this document is going to travel onwards to is it will be published on our website. The idea of the document is that we provide a breakdown of protected characteristics within the council. We are quite a small council, so occasionally we don't comment on absolutely every protected characteristic because it might identify people, but we do try and give a bit of a an overview of the protected characteristics of the staff within the council, partly to make sure that we are representing the communities that we serve. Holly's also done some analysis on that, and from that made some recommendations, which we will then feed into the people strategy. And you'll notice that she's also commented on some additional things such as sickness absence and so on. So it's a very interesting document. It's almost all sort of data analytics. So it's not a policy for adopting as such, but it's definitely something that feeds into the people strategy within the council. So I don't know, Chair, whether Holly would like to add any more detail to that, or whether to just open to the floor.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you. Yeah, there's a few main findings that came out of the report, which we'll see in the conclusions. Three main things. One is that we've got an ageing workforce, which isn't a new thing. I think we knew that already. The second was the gender pay gap, which is a separate report, but we have included it because it's it fits in nicely in the report. And this just highlights that there's still probably more work to be done in this area. And then the third key finding is that we seem to have a bit of a high staff turnover in a certain grade. So it just points an area that we might want to put some additional exploration into. So yeah, these three things have fed into the people strategy. So yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Members, comments, questions? Leader?
I was desperate for somebody else to go first. Thank you, Chair. A couple of things. First of all, I forgot to thank Ms Dixon for the previous two reports. They were much appreciated and very rich in detail. This one too was much appreciated. I think it gave us some really interesting insights into what's happening with the workforce. And I don't have any other questions apart from to acknowledge that I think it's a great piece of work, as were the previous two. Thank you.
Yes, I'd agree with that. When I first looked at this, I thought, oh my word, this is going to be a statutory requirement and deadly dull. Actually, it wasn't. The material that came out of it was extremely useful and insightful. So thank you for that. We are advised to resolve that the workforce profile for 23-24 be noted and published on the council's website. Are we happy with that? Great, thank you. You will have discovered when you went through the papers that item 7 was missing. And the reason it's missing is that it's a verbal update which is about to be given by Sally. Thank you.
Hello, yes. This is on the agenda because you'll recall committee members asked for a regular update on policies because we've got the new governance process going forward after full council next week where the head of paid service will be the final sign off of policies that have just been amended. They're not new to the council. We agreed that we would have a standing agenda item to give you a verbal update on the policies that we had amended and any key changes. On this occasion, the one policy we've amended, we have brought to Employment Committee because that governance change hasn't actually happened yet. So it was on the agenda, but we've actually brought the dignity and respect at work to committee. Next time, our plan is to give you a short report of all the policy changes so that you can have that for noting. But I did just want to make sure that that was what the committee was expecting next time and that would meet the need. Ms Dixon has been working hard on doing a programme of our policies and checking when they're next going to be reviewed and so on. So we'll be fully ready for that in our next employment committee early in the new year.
Thank you, Sally. Certainly, speaking for myself, it's exactly what I expected. Leader.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. And Ms Kipping, we've got to hope that you get well soon as well, by the way. We forgot to mention that earlier as well. Just one thought on reflection and having listened to what you said. And I'll be honest, I can't remember the detail on this point. And if there are policies that only relate to, for example, statutory officers, it wouldn't seem appropriate that the statutory officers were the sign-off for those. In the previous wording around how we were handling these policies, did we identify that issue? And if we did, great. And if we didn't, can we tweak? Do we need to tweak something to make sure that policies that just impact the statutory officer come back to this group?
Many thanks, Councillor MacDonald. We can certainly check the exact resolution point and bring it back to committee if needed next time when we bring this item back. To my recollection, we didn't identify specifically around statutory officers, but I will check the resolution and come back to you.
Thank you. I assume you think it would be appropriate for that it came back here. Otherwise, somebody would be marking their own homework a little bit. Is that fair?
Yes, we can certainly look at that,
Thank you.
and it does seem.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Fine. So we're happy to note that verbal report. Good. Thank you. Next item, and again, it's for Sally, which is the work programme for 24-25. One suspects that this might be subject to a certain amount of fluidity, but Sally, no doubt you will comment on that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Again, this was something that we talked about in the last meeting, and I said I would just bring back to make sure that you were satisfied with the changes. I think we did circulate this one by email and some of you did comment. It is only the work programme for February and March because, of course, in March we'll be looking at the work programme and priorities for the following financial year, but these are the items, as you can see on the work programme, that we are planning to bring. The HR policies and guidance will be the report that Ms Dixon's working on currently, and we have the standing annual item of the Speak Up policy and the Chief Executive appraisal and pay award. So those are all fairly standard items. We've allowed for pay settlement just in case we need to come back on that one. And then in March at the moment, we've got the three items there for you. So I know I had circulated this by email, but I just did want the committee's agreement that that was satisfactory.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions? Looks like everybody's happy with that. You'll be pleased to hear. So we're happy to adopt that as the work programme for the next two meetings. Or not?
Very delighted, Chair.
Okay, thank you, good. Right. So we now move on to item 9. You can sit back and relax for the next few minutes while I deal with the question of the exclusion of press and public. The committee is advised to resolve that under section 100A 4 of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the ground that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act as set out below. Do I need to read the sub-paragraphs? Thank you. Are we all content with that? Thank you. So I'm not sure if there were any members of the public, but if they were, good night and thank you for coming.